Clarence Earl Gideon was born in the early 1900s in Missouri and was raised by his mother, Virginia Gregory Gideon. Clarence Gideon left his home before entering high school, and by the age of 16 he was living on the streets and committing petty crimes. He spent a year in a reformatory for burglary and was arrested in Missouri when he was 18 for similar charges. He spent 3 years in prison. For the next 3 decades, Gideon spent his life in poverty, serving times in Kansas, Texas, and Missouri. He married 4 times and had 6 children with his wife, Ruth Ada Babineau. They made a home in Texas in the mid-1950s, where Gideon contracted tuberculosis, leaving him debilitated for 3 years. The family moved to Florida, where Gideon's children were removed by welfare authorities, and then came the year 1961.
I've been robbed!
Stop right there!
On June 2, 1961, 50-year-old Gideon was first accused of breaking and entering, as well as petty larceny. He was allegedly seen by eyewitness Henry Cook leaving Bay Harbor Pool Room in Panama City, Florida, carrying a bottle of wine and pocketfuls of coins. The owner of this bar, Ira Strickland Jr., stated to authorities that $5 in coins and some bottles of beer and soda had been stolen from his establishment. Gideon was then arrested in a legitimate fashion by local authorities. Gideon was initially tried in front of a jury without a lawyer, because the judge would not allow one to be provided for him. He knew little about law and was found guilty and sentenced to 5 years in prison. He appealed to the Florida Supreme Court, but they too stated that legal counsel could not be appointed for Gideon's defense. While he was serving his sentence, Gideon studied law and eventually appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court on the grounds that he had been denied his Sixth Amendment right to counsel by the Florida Department of Corrections.
When the U.S. Supreme Court granted Gideon his case, he was represented by a well-known D.C. lawyer, Abe Fortaw. Born in 1910, Fortaw was a law professor at Yale University and then worked in D.C. Eventually, he became a Supreme Court Associate Justice. The case was originally called Gideon V. Cochran, but with a shift in management at the Division of Corrections in Florida, it was renamed Gideon V. Wainwright. His appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court was not about his conviction, but about his denial of rights. Fortaw argued that Gideon was not qualified to defend himself, and therefore his trial was not fair while lacking good counsel. Bruce Jacob, the Assistant Florida Attorney General, rebutted that the issue should be dealt with the state, not at the federal level, and that in non-capital cases, appointing counsel should be kept as a subjective decision. The case was short, and on March 18, 1963, the U.S. ruled in Gideon's favor unanimously, 9-0. Justice Hugo Black delivered the opinion of the court, which overruled Betts v. Brady, a decision allowing selective application of the Sixth Amendment right to counsel to states.
The right to counsel was debated in many cases before Gideon v. Wainwright. Powell v. Alabama was brought to the Supreme Court in 1932, involving a capital trial, where the defendant was denied counsel until immediately before the trial, affecting the performance. The court deemed that their Sixth Amendment rights and their right to due process were infringed upon. Johnson v. Zerbst in 1938 had similar results. In Betts v. Brady in 1942, the outcome was different. The majority opinion claimed that not all defendants require assistance to have a fair trial, so Betts lost his case. Gideon v. Wainwright overturned this decision. Gideon v. Wainwright has had a huge impact on our country's legal system. The rights to counsel and due process resurfaced just a few years later in the widely renowned Miranda v. Arizona case of 1966. Miranda was denied the Sixth Amendment rights assured to all citizens because of the decision of Gideon v. Wainwright. The decision of Gideon v. Wainwright helped to affirm Miranda's case and to lead the Supreme Court to this pivotal decision. Because of these two cases, not only do people have to have the option of utilizing legal counsel, they also have to be made aware of this right. The decision of Gideon V. Wainwright was upheld in the 1972 Supreme Court case, Argersinger v. Hamlin. When John Richard Argersinger was sentenced to jail time without ever having been represented by an attorney, he challenged this in the U.S. Supreme Court. The court decided in Argersinger's favor, stating that the decision made in Gideon v. Wainwright had remained relevant.
Today, in our legal system, everyone must have the opportunity to be represented by legal counsel. If you cannot afford a lawyer, then one is provided for you from the Public Defender's Office. Gideon v. Wainwright effectively started the establishment of public defenders' offices around the country. This system has been highly important in upholding the decision of Gideon v. Wainwright and making sure that all citizens have the opportunity to be represented legally. However, this system does have flaws. The lawyers who work for the Public Defender's Office tend to be inexperienced and less talented in the field of law. Therefore, even if you are given legal counsel in order to fulfill your rights of due process and counsel, you will likely be unable to win your case. This important case did not receive much attention until the book, Gideon's Trumpet, by Anthony Lewis was published in 1964. The book depicted the events that took place during this trial. It was also made into a TV movie in 1980, giving the case even more recognition. We wholeheartedly agree with the decision made in Gideon v. Wainwright. The right to counsel with the Sixth Amendment and due process are such key components of our Constitution. Being taught this at a young age has made us believe these things to be absolute truth. Someone being denied their rights is never just, in our opinion.
Both the right to counsel and the right to due process help our legal system function properly. Without those guaranteed rights, many court cases would have had different outcomes, and our legal system would not work as well. Thank you for listening to our presentation. We hope it has enlightened you about these critical civil rights and how they have shaped our country to be what it is today.